how do you have the courage to ignore and differentiate this is distraction and focus on your coaching practice in a way it's in your style, it's in that is authentic you instead of brainwashed by all these strategies that everyone's using, but it's not really your style kind of thing?
Your business shouldn't look just like my business. We're different people, we're different coaches, we have different audiences, we have different styles, right? And so your business should be as unique as you are. And that's really hard to do when it's new, when you don't have maybe a business background that gives you a little bit of self-confidence to stand on. Wanted to protect the innocence of coaches who are starting and building a business and show them that they can do it their authentic way and that they don't need to follow someone else's steps.
So what is the biggest sign that you see a coach that's out of alignment, out of their business, and how does that vibrations affects the clients, affects the energy in the room?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things when we're, new into business is the patience, right? But if we understand what our vision is, if we understand where our passion lies, if we understand what type of business we want to build and who we want to serve, that can become like our compass.
What is the one small micro steps that they can take to put themselves in front for their ideal client?
And so the first step, it might not feel micro, might not feel small, but the first step is to tell someone you're a coach.
Welcome back to the Wisdom Inside Out podcast. Wherever you are, I just want to say thank you so much for your support and for tuning in to this channel to learn and to grow together. I am so honored and excited for today's conversations. It's a very special guest. Her name is Jamie Winslow. She's also a fellow from J Shetty School. She coaches and she flipped the script on how we can show up to our clients and to our family fully. We're going to talk about the shift from selling to serving with generosity and why emotional support for our children isn't about making sure they're always happy, but it's about being present to their whole journey unfolding. And today we're going to break into 3 pillars of the authentic business, building the way you like to grow your business and how to get yourself in the right room and leading with the heart of services. We also dive deep into self-care for parents and the beauty of rediscovering yourself. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tina. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited for today's conversations where I know a lot of coaches, especially they were preparing to coach clients, but the whole business is a whole brand new story that they have to learn, and they a lot of coaches not prepared for that, and it could be a big distraction. So I'm glad to have you on. We can share, dive deep onto these topics to help coaches, and not just coaches or any other business, to actually you can show up fully. So Jamie, for my audience that doesn't know what you do, why you're here, if you can introduce a little bit about yourself and why you're currently on this mission.
So my name is Jamie Winslow, as you said, and I am from the Bay Area, California, United States. I've been to Australia. It's one of my favorite places that I've ever traveled. But I'm from the Bay Area, and I'm fortunate even to live in the house that I grew up in. So getting to raise my son here is like a dream come true. I've always been passionate about serving people. helping others. And so when you look at some of the things I've done in the past, you had mentioned dog training before we started recording. That was to serve people with disabilities. So I was helping to train service dogs for people who needed them for their independence. So as I was looking back at my life, it's always been in a place of helping others. My most recent career took me into the fitness and wellness industry, and I spent nearly 20 years working in that industry, serving people, helping them live healthier lives, and finding joy in their healthy habits. So it was incredibly rewarding. And that's also where I got my business education, was through running a large facility in this area for 15 years and learning about things like membership and collecting and paid services and really the experience that the member is having and how that influences all of those other pieces. So that's where my business background comes from. I'm also a mom. I have an 11-year-old son who I absolutely love spending time with. And for now, he's still happy to spend time with me. We enjoy being active. We like reading. And our latest thing is finding movies that we can watch together.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to know, because for me, getting to a coaching wasn't really part of the plan. Like, I was in a corporate world, and then I thought, well, I was doing all right until cancer hit. And that's like a mirror revealing what is truly matters in my life. And that's when I was like, deep down, when you think about death, I want to serve my humanity, before I die. I feel like that's the calling, that why you've been put onto this planet of, blue and green on this space. So I would start off like, I just want to share the message, how I was feeling like at the time where you thought you could be dying, right? Because it's aggressive type of cancer. It could spread like in a few months just to get all over your body. So I was thinking about spreading the message, and that's why I started coaching, so I can know the term and how can I share those messages in an effective way. And that's how I get into coaching, and it's the best things ever. But I just want to know with you, like, is there any turning point? I know you always like try to help people and stuff like that, but what was the shift that I'm going to get into coaching? Like, is there any incidents or any moment that pushed you to get into that directions?
Yeah, I love that question. And it all happened really organically for me. So it was not a singular decision of I'm going to start being a coach. I actually got into the Jay Shetty School just because I wanted to be able to show up for other people better, right? I wanted to be able to hold space for them better. My job involved mentoring, coaching, emotional support, lots of elements of coaching. And so I thought, maybe I'll pull this into my work. Maybe this is a way for me to start doing some workshops. It wasn't a clear-cut, like, point A to point B plan. But I'd be curious to hear about your experience. But as I went through the program, I felt more and more alignment with coaching. And it just felt like this is where I'm meant to be. So many of us coaches resonate with having been coaching for a long time without knowing exactly what we were doing. That's sort of how we show up in the world. And so that was very much my journey as well. Is it's like, oh, this is what I'm doing when I'm having those conversations with members or with employees or friends. And so it just started to put framework around something that was pretty natural for me. And the reward that you get from being able to be a part of somebody's journey is just like nothing else. And so it was a very organic process for me as I went through the program to just find and meet my inner coach, and then commit to doing that fully.
That's beautiful. Yeah, for me, I didn't plan to have a business in this. For me, it's just all about improving myself, self-development, and that's what I just want to highlight for people as well. A coach, it's like, it doesn't have to be coaching people. like the first person you're actually coaching and helping is actually yourself. You get to see yourself in a different perspective, like a different awareness, and you also have all these tools that you can pull out and instructions to use. And this is like why I was like, wow, this is actually more than what I was expected I gained from the course. And it's just like the way you show up. And after I finished it, I was like, I wasn't sure if I want to get into this field or I just continue with what I just want to do, which is having podcasts, sharing messages. But then the way you show up differently, that's what attracts other people. They see the change in you, and that's what, like, oh, what happened? I want you to coach me, like something like that. So it just followed. So like, in your field, like from where you're doing what you're doing now, we are in a world of like so much information, so much tools, so much like offers, like everywhere, left, right, center. How do you have the courage to ignore and differentiate this is distraction and focus on your coaching practice in a way it's in your style, that is authentic to you, instead of brainwashed by all these strategies that everyone's using, but it's not really your style kind of thing? How do you help all the coaches out there, or how do you pick up at that time that I have to stay this way to be my authentic self instead of get brainwashed by all this flooded information?
This is such a good question, because there is so much noise, and it's something I talk about with my clients often. We talk about building. One of the things I like to bring up is we're going to build your business your way, right? Your business shouldn't look just like my business. We're different people. We're different coaches. We have different audiences. We have different styles, right? And so your business should be as unique as you are. And that's really hard to do when it's new. When you don't have maybe a business background that gives you a little bit of self-confidence to stand on. I think that's one of the ways I was able to do that. So getting to your question, I was lucky that I had a business foundation, and so when some offers would come at me that sound too good to be true, you just sort of know then they're too good to be true. But I certainly fell victim is a strong word, but I was susceptible to some of it even with that, right? So I just immediately thought, if I could kind of fall prey to some of these offers, then someone with less of a business background, less confidence in that area, they're even an easier way.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe it's my inner mama bear. I don't know. I wanted to like protect the innocence of coaches who are starting and building a business, and show them that they can do it their authentic way, and that they don't need to follow someone else's steps or, sign up for some miracle program. And it's not to say that there's no value in other people's programs. I certainly wouldn't say that. But for me, the distinction is, am I signing up to run my business the way you run your business? Or am I signing up to build a business that's right for me? And the other thing that really ties this in for me is when we go through our coaching education, we're taught to coach the client, right? And meet them where they are. And when it's already a planned 6-step program or something, that's not about you. That's about the coach. And so it should be about the client. It should be about where they are, and it should be about where they want to go. And not every coach wants this to be their full-time gig. Not every coach, needs or wants to have 10, 20 clients, right? Everybody has a different vision. And so that's where I start with my clients that are coaches, is we start with what's your vision. I love that one, because when I was started, like so many this is what's working, but then I was like, it's like you try to date and pretend to be someone, right? How long is that relationship is gonna
gonna laugh if you don't show who you truly are at the beginning. So I was just like, oh, I don't feel right. Why do you have to change this style? Because I feel the reason I'm standing out because of my uniqueness is different from others. And if you lose that uniqueness, you just don't feel like that. What is the special about it? Everyone's just the same. And like you said, because my situation is different, because as a cancer survivor, as I have a mom, and so many things that I realize that matter for me, coaching is something that I want to help out within my capacity. That is something I can give. It's not like going to be my full-time business, or because my priority is still my own health and still my family and stuff like that. And this is why if you're stretching it, that your capacity of being showing up fully to your clients will also impact as well, because you are connected in that room, that container together. So you just make sure you feel like completely aligned and in love with that style of your coaching, so that way you can show up fully. Yeah, I love how you bring up that point, because it's so easy to get distracted. Everything just seems to so good, like, and then because if you don't have enough experience, we will just like start changing, and then you start losing yourself in the process of observing.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things when we're new into business is the patience, right? Like, there's so much immediate gratification in society these days that if we're building a business and we're doing it from a place of authenticity and integrity and uniqueness, you need to have patience. Things don't build overnight, right? And so you have to love what you're doing. You have to love who you're talking to, because it's not always going to be easy. And that love, that passion is what drives you through the difficult moments. And then it's ultimately the patience that allows you to see the reward from your hard work. Because as you just said, like pivoting, or like if we change something because we think it's not working, something may be working, but it's just working at a pace that's slower than what we were hoping for or what we wanted.
Yeah.
You have to give it that time to actually see the result.
That's beautiful. And the way we stay authentic to our style, I think the love that we have for it definitely is the resilience that we can stand all the hard work. Like, we find it so worth it because you're loving it. But when you start losing yourself, and that's when things doesn't stick and things. So this is why it's not about the challenge, about the hard work. It's about staying to what's really truly meaning to you. So that way you can keep going and keep doing it. And you look back and still feel proud, even though it's hard. It's not easy, but the difference is about loving it. Yeah, keep you going. So what is the biggest sign that you see a coach that's out of alignment, out of their business, and how does that vibrations affects the clients, affects the energy in the room?
Yeah, this is such a good point to make. So when a coach is out of alignment, it typically manifests through our energy, right? Our emotional and mental energy. So that might look like feeling really scattered. It might look like second guessing yourself. It might look like imposter syndrome and starting to feel like you're not good, you're not worth the rates that you've come up with. So usually it's manifesting in some sort of physical way that's really preventing, it starts to actually prevent your business from moving forward. Because when we're in that energy, we're not making grounded decisions, and we're not in alignment with what our actual vision and passion is. We're way more susceptible to external influence, like the noise. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I think we've all had those moments where, like, I've let others influence my pricing, right? They're like, oh, you need to be charging X, Y, Z. And so I did it. And then I'm the one that has to be in the conversations about my pricing, not them. And if it doesn't feel right to me, it's not going to feel right to the client, right? So some of these things we have to kind of learn the hard way as we go through the steps. But if we understand what our vision is, if we understand where our passion lies, if we understand what type of business we want to build and who we want to serve, that can become like our compass. And so when I work with clients, coaches in particular, that are starting their business, we really dig into those elements because I want to create a compass for us and for the coach to make future business decisions off of. And if a decision comes up and they have these, 4 pieces that they can refer back to and decide based on that, rather than whatever emotion they're feeling in the moment of the decision, they're more likely to continue to make aligned choices and avoid getting back to those scattered moments or those, second guess quick pivots, are just detrimental. And so if they have something foundational, then they can avoid things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's impossible to avoid it because if we stay open, right, we just want to learn and there's no other way to learn. But the key is that we have to know what is right for you. You need to have that compass. So when you're out of that align, okay, start getting out again, start getting this track, it's not aligned. So you know how to pull back, you know how to put a stop on it. Because I experienced exactly like you, because it's still new to this business and I don't know, so I just stay open and whatever people introduce, I just give it a try. But then okay, this is start to get out of my alignment. This is but then you learn from it as well. What does it reveal about yourself? And that is the process of falling forward. You keep learning and growing from that. And the key is about knowing your style, knowing your own compass. That's why you don't lose yourself. So when you say that you help the coaches, there's four foundation or something that you want to ask the coach to reflect on. What are those 4 things that if you can share with my audience, for coaches out there that they are falling into this trap and they're not quite sure how to pull themselves back, what is the 4 things that they need to reflect on?
Yeah, so their vision, right? What do they actually want for their business? What do they want to create? As we were saying, not everyone's business is the same, so don't compare, don't look at others, think about you. What do you actually want? Do you want to coach groups? Do you want to coach one-on-one? Do you want to do a podcast? Do you want to do workshops? Do you want to create a community? There's so many ways to do this. So what do you actually want to create? What's your vision? Who do you want to serve? If you don't know who you want to serve, all of your energy is essentially going through the drain. So really understanding who you want to serve. The third one is what kind of change you want to make. This one's important. A lot of people would call this the niche. And this one's important because it's going to help you filter out some of those other things that come up, right? If you know that you're coaching women who are going through divorce, let's say, and then there's this cool opportunity to get involved and, coach entrepreneurs, you could consider it, but it's very much off of what you set out to do. So if you know who you're serving and how you want to serve them, it'll help you filter out some of that noise. And then the third piece is really, it really is a reflection of you. So who you are, what your strengths are, what is your tone and the energy that you bring. And I think that as you coach and as you create content and as you have conversations, you get firmer and firmer in that understanding. So that one is really like a learn as you go. Like I understand now much better what my voice is when it comes to creating content and things like that than I did in the beginning. And that's only from doing it, right? So those are the 4 pieces: yourself, your vision, your audience, and your niche or the transformation you want to make.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's when you have these 4 clear points, it's led me to ask the questions like that's where you, because I've seen so many coaches, they show up in all the rooms, like, try to find clients and stuff. But then when you have all these 4 things clear, you know which room to show up. So how do you identify, if you can be a little bit more specific or detailed, how to identify the right room, or so that way they can save their energy to serve the actual need for the right room?
Yeah. This one is kind of one of my favorite topics because I love to think outside the box. I think so many coaches, especially in the beginning, we mainly think about social media, and we think that's how we're going to get our clients, and we think that's what everybody does, and that's where we put our energy. Social media is not really a room. It's like a city or a country. It's a wide landscape, and so there's a chance that your content will be seen by the right people, but you're really putting it out there in a bit of a hope. And you can do things to obviously build, you want to build consistency, you want to build a presence, you want to build into the algorithm so that it knows how to use your content. You want to make connections with the right people. So there are, of course, strategies around social media, but I don't see social media as a room. Rooms are where people are choosing to be there because they have things in common with the other people in the room, right? So this could be a group on social media. It could be an in-person group. Maybe there's like I was talking to a grief coach a couple of weeks ago, and she was, feeling like she was struggling getting clients. And one of the things we talked about is where are the grief services in your area? Can you go down to, is it maybe the community center that holds a grief group? Is there a local hospice organization? Is it at a church? Where are people who are already seeking support in this area, and how can you put yourself in the room there, right? So that's an example of an in-person one. Another one is if you're trying to coach parents or trying to get in touch with families, going down to the schools. Join the PTA or volunteer to help out during some of the field trips and things like that. And just putting yourself around the people that you're actually trying to attract is going to be so much more powerful. So it doesn't have to be in person. It can be virtual. It can be social media. But this is why I said I like to think outside the box, because I really push my clients to say, where are your people? Where are they? Do they shop at a certain grocery store? Well, you should start shopping there. It can be as simple as that. But really just being so intentional about it rather than just blasting, our message on social media and cross your fingers.
Yeah, definitely. I love you bring up this point, because our energy is very, it's very valuable asset. You want to use it at the right place, the right room, right? Or it's just like draining and leaking everywhere. And I love it how you said, because that's what I thought as well when I started parenting coaching. I was thinking, because I have to network with the childcare and also part of the parenting group and on Facebook group and stuff like that. So you just want to connect it to the right room so that way they can see it more valuable. Yeah, and I love you highlight this point so that way other coaches can, put it into a serious consideration so that way, because I know, like you said, I know many coaches that also draining from splitting themselves everywhere. And so
there was one more thing that came up as you were sharing about that. And when you go into those rooms, whether they're online, virtual, in person, show up as a human first. It's so important to be present and just connect. And especially in that example that I was giving about the grief coach, imagine you walked into a room that's a grief support group and you started trying to sell your services, right? Fortunately, most of us coaches are actually coaching an old version of ourselves, someone that we relate to, someone we know the emotions they're going through, the mindset that they might be in. And so use that as your superpower. Start with connection That's what builds trust, and then go from there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think the connection is very powerful, and that's when you build the trust, right? For people to open up, and it's not easy when I find when I get into coaching. There's a lot of some mistake that you made. You feel like you go straight to the point. You want to mirror to them, but then it didn't work because you lost that connection and that trust. But then you really showing up as a human, like you care, you have a good intention of helping or something. That's what left the feeling, like it makes them feel that attracted and trusted. So when you open up to share something, and it's easier for you to turn it into potential clients. I love you brought up this point. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So now for a coach, like I know a lot of coaches they have good tools and they can help, but they feel shy, they're afraid to be seen, or they feel imposter syndromes. What is the one small micro steps that they can take to put themselves in front for their ideal client?
Yeah, this is so relatable, right? The way confidence is built is by doing, not by preparing, not by learning more. And I can't tell you how many coaches I've spoken to, and they're like, I'm going to get this next certification because it's going to help me serve better, or I need to put this together so that then I can start offering this, because then I'll have something planned, or organization offer, etc. And it's all good intentions. That's how much we care about serving our clients, right? So it's not a negative. But we have to ask ourselves, is this procrastination? Is this us hiding from being visible, hiding from potential rejection? And most often the answer is yes. And so the first step, it might not feel micro, might not feel small, but the first step is to tell someone you're a coach. Tell someone at the grocery store. Tell the person that you're seated next to in the airplane. Tell your friends and family members. I'm coaching somebody right now, and she is ready to transition into becoming a coach and starting her coaching business. And this was exactly our task, right? She's like, I need to start saying I'm a life coach. I said, great, where can you do that? And she's like, well, I've got this dinner planned. It's with like 12 friends. I don't see them that often. Maybe once or twice a year we all get together. She's like, I'm going to tell them all I'm a life coach. I said, fantastic. Like for her, she gets the practice, but it's also kind of a safe space where when they ask her questions, they're going to do so from a supportive space. So that works for some people. Sometimes it's easier to be vulnerable with a stranger, like the person on the airplane that you're never going to see again. So I encourage each coach to choose their own path, but the first step is simply to start telling people you're a coach. And then one of the things that really worked for me, and so I try to do this with my clients as well, is practicing saying the words out loud. So when you have your niche, tell people what your niche is. When you have your elevator pitch, start saying that to people. When you get your pricing, say those numbers out loud, right? I remember calling or texting my friend, and I said, hey, I really need to practice saying these numbers out loud. Can I call you and give you my pricing? And he's like, sure. So I did, and it was great because it's so important to practice. See how it feels. This goes back to what we were saying about alignment. When you say the words out loud, you're realigning it with yourself. And one of the things I noticed in the early days when I would say my niche in particular, it would come out differently verbally than how I was writing it down. And that was a big cue. That was a clue to me to go back and rework it, because if how I'm describing it isn't matching how I'm writing it down, something is off. So I took that as an opportunity to go back and rework it so that when I'm talking to somebody, it's matching what I've also written down or what I might have on my website. And that's the alignment piece that you're always looking for, making sure that saying it doesn't feel different or come out different than writing it.
I love it. I love how you bring up this point, because I remember when I started talking to a lot of coaches, they don't feel comfortable saying they're a life coach. They kind of come up with a little bit of some, like, so many life coach out there, and like, they don't really value it. But for me at that time, because I gained so much wisdoms from this coaching, so I was so proud. I was like, I'm a life coach, and then some people is like, don't say a life coach. A lot of people don't like the word life coach. Like, I don't know, they may have some sort of histories, but for me, like you said, because it's kind of like, for me to, because I keep reminding myself as well, like, we all fear of the unknown, but I keep reminding myself the great things, all the possibilities, all this unknown. I'm excited for this unknown, So when you're saying that, it's not as scary as what it is about making your mind familiar, because it's something new, and our mind, it's just like, when it's something new, we haven't done it before, it's calculated as a unsafe, scary, and it's always trying to pull you back, and the way you did, it's just like familiar our brain, our mind, that to make it, it's okay, it feels safe, it feels comfortable in this way. And then when you say it, you feel like it's you, you feel like it's hope. And this is why practice is all about making yourself familiar. And like with our mind, like, we have to be, this is why I love the awareness. I didn't know before, like, in order for us to actually access the wisdom, the awareness, we need to be able to calm our critical mind, right? And just have to constantly reminding that I'm loving this, and I am completely safe with this. Just because as soon as when you feel unsafe and you feel scared, that's our critical mind, our inner voice, like, it will show you all this judgment, all this voice, and that's why you have to keep reminding yourself. And for me, it's just like, I know I don't have much tool, but at that time I was having, it's okay, I'm gonna learn from this. Like, I'm excited to learn from this, like, with some sort of those self-trust, right? And fear is coming from because your lack of knowledge, your lack of skills, and your lack of self-trust. But the first thing that you can do, you just have to trust yourself that you can go and figure it out, and you're going to learn from it. And this is another step of, I'm stretching, I'm growing, So instead of focusing on the outcome, just focusing on, I'm enjoying this, and telling yourself this is exciting things. And I think that's helpful for me in terms of that affirmations. Just keep reminding yourself that all this unknown is all fears. Just because I never done it, it doesn't mean it's not great. There's a lot of people who've done it and they success. So I'm excited to step into that position. Yeah.
That brought up two things for me as I was listening to you. The first one is that everybody starts with a beginner, right? So when we look up to these really accomplished, whether they're coaches or business people or speakers, they started here too, right? Mm-hmm. So to remind ourselves of that. And I love what you were saying about, I'm going to grow, I'm going to learn. I often remind myself, when you get kind of those nerves that you're, it's like this mix. I describe it as a mix of nervous and excited. Mm-hmm. And when I feel that, what I've done is I use that to tell myself I'm in the right place. Mm-hmm. Rather than using that to feel unsafe and back up. If you back up, you go back to the comfort zone. Right? Yeah. I really know that to grow, I have to continue to push myself out of my comfort zone. Mm. So what that allowed me to do was, when I feel that feeling, flip it into, great, I'm in the right place, I'm doing the right things because I have that feeling. And so then instead you start looking for that feeling.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And this is why we're in the world of uncertainty, and I love, I be my own certainty, just have to have faith, trust in all the possibility and all the great things, and this is when I realized about turning inwards. Like, the tiger is not, the hard part is not on the outside, it's actually on the inside, and you just need to combat. And for me, I see myself changing, because in the past I tried to control and fix, controlling my husband, my kids, and then when I learned to control my own emotions and, reframing your thought and stuff, you don't have to try to control the outside. When you able to shift and go into a calm state, you will function from a different place and not an ego-driven place. And that's the big thing. where you stop focusing. I used to so driven by result and outcome, but then you miss out the enjoying the process. But when you look at everything in a mindful and detailed, like even those challenges, like be curious, why is it this way? Like you learn to look into a more detail. It grows on you because you gain something. You see the art of it, and that's what. Now I look at challenges differently, like this is my gift, because once I overcome to the other side, this is the exciting thing I'm going to share with others, because it's the ingredient. It's like you're building a Lego, right? They give you all this package. It's messy and raw at the beginning, but it's the whole thing is about having fun and turn it to the piece that you want to turn it to. And that's I this is why I'm grateful for cancer and everything else, because it's just to show how much potential that you can be by you really look into it and trusting that you're gonna create something out of this. I think this is a valuable lesson for me when I realized, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna miss out all this opportunity to play, to where I always live my life in fears about safe, and then I realized, oh my God, I might be dying, and I feel like I haven't really explore anything. And so now I just have I just start wonder, what if this audit turned to this possibility, and that's turned to joy.
I can relate to that, sort of having a new outlook on life and being really intentional about living it, getting the most out of it. That was part of my journey, going from marriage to divorce and single, and so it's like, well, clean slate, what do I want to do with this? And I'm certainly not trying to compare journeys, but I think a lot of us lose that connection to what do we really want out of life. We get very caught up in just the daily schedule and the daily routine and society and things like that, and so when we're given this opportunity to reset, it is a gift, and then it's up to us whether we do something or not.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it, whether I speak with my clients or with me in the past, with all the challenges that we've been through, we seem to get stuck and it's only you. But now that I'm a coach and working with many people, everyone have their own challenges in life. We're putting onto this planet just to learn. Everyone, rich people, they have their problem with their challenges with that ritual, so I just want to remind people that whatever challenges you're going through, it's not just you. Everyone in this planet going through the same thing. Yes, it's a different things, like they might be going through a challenge with their kids, they might go through a challenge with their health or with their relationship, like work and everything, but everyone is going through different challenges. It's not you, and because this is the way how we learn to love and accept ourselves, by going through those challenges where in the past I feel like I tried to avoid it for a long time, and that's what is stringing me. It's like slowly killing me inside, because it built up over time. You can't avoid it, you have to face it, and it's not that bad to face it. We underestimate our potential. So just moving to the next question, how you mentioned about the ripples, how you feel touch more people than how does shifting your mindset from I need to make sales to I am here to serve, to offer, and to create a ripple effect to change, that turn to real hearty conversations and potential clients.
Yeah, this is such a good point, and I really lived this one. Again, I think initially it's so natural and so easy to focus on sales and that being a measure of impact and result. That's not actually why we got into coaching, right? We got into coaching to make changes in people's lives, to help people to often be the support we didn't have when we were going through similar struggles and challenges. And as soon as it becomes a business, it's very easy to lose sight of that. It's very easy to focus now on numbers and sales and things like that instead of impact and conversation and connection. And so I was just like anybody else, and I went through that same journey. And I remember at some point kind of waking up one day and going, this doesn't feel right. So this goes back to like the alignment piece too that we talked about already. This doesn't feel right. I'm talking to somebody and hoping at the end of the conversation they're gonna pay me, like they're gonna send me money to work with me, and that wasn't coming from the right place for me. And I don't think I'm unique in that. I think many coaches feel that way, and I think that's one of the reasons why there is often friction around just for coaches. And so switching my mindset to a place of service allowed me to live in my authenticity and allowed me to realign with why I'm here. And if you think about, I already mentioned before, a lot of us were acting as a coach, but even before we were certified as a coach, right? We're the good listener. We are the one our friends come to when they have problems. And we were doing that out of the goodness of our heart. So what's changed now? Why does it have to change now that we actually are certified and have better tools? Right? So making sure we still come from a place of service actually allows us to show up better for our clients, or our friends, or anybody else in our lives. And that is what leads to long-term business impact. Because if let's say you help a friend through a hardship, if you do that just out of the generosity of your spirit, they felt the impact of your coaching. And you don't have to say a word, but they are going to go out, and the next time they come across somebody that's in a hardship, they're going to say, you got to talk to my friend Lena. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. And that friend just became an advocate for you, right? An ambassador for you. And you didn't do it in order for them to refer people to you. You did it out of a place of service. You did it out of the generosity of your spirit. And so anyways, I started getting back into this lane of just connecting with people, just being there for people, just hearing about their hardships, their journey, and really reconnecting with why I became a coach in the first place. And it was to be able to have these types of conversations in a meaningful, powerful way. And then I read The Prosperous Coach, and I don't know if you know the book, but I know many coaches do. And this book only doubles down on that philosophy. They really preach that it's about conversations. And so I was able to kind of take this seed that I had started, and I've only grown it from there. And so now, like when I'm in a discovery call with somebody, I'm not focused on the sale. How I focus my energy is being as present and powerful for them in that moment as I can, and leading to the next conversation. And so for me, and I'm all about what's the next conversation. If we have a chat at a barbecue, hey, if you enjoyed this, let's chat again, right? So it just becomes about having the next conversation. And so that really changes why you're showing up. It allows you to show up more authentically. And it absolutely has led to referrals and to business. The recent example of this, a previous colleague reached out to me, said they wanted to connect. I had no idea what they wanted to connect about. This is not someone that I've had a close friendship with. This is not someone that I've stayed in a lot of contact with since leaving that position. I just said, okay, let's meet up. When and where, right? And I showed up, and it turns out they have a lot going on in their life right now. They've got a family member that's not doing well. They're not happy in their relationship. You know, there's layers here, right? Like most things in our lives. And I was just present. I didn't try to say, this is how I would help. I didn't talk about offers. I didn't even share pricing or anything. And at the end of the conversation, first of all, she says, hey, I think I have an opportunity for you. And she introduced me to another organization that serves families. And so there was that connection. And I thought, oh, well, that's fantastic. Look at this. I've got a new lead to sort of get to know and see what happens. And then it was a week or two later, she messaged me and she's like, hey, I think I want to hire you for your services. So again, you just show up, you give generously, you become a powerful coach, and then you allow the business to come after. And you do need to follow up. I'm not saying you can sit back, take your feet up, and do nothing. Yeah. Follow up is everything. Yeah. But instead of following up, like now, instead of me following up and saying, hey, what did you think about the offer? Hey, what did you think about starting next week? I'm following up saying, hey, how's it going? Has anything shifted for you? Or, hey, were you able to take some of the awareness that we dug out last time? And any of that helping now? So you show up from a different place.
Definitely. I love you bring out that point and go back to your why, because I know a lot of coaches, the reason they become a coach because of that humility, right? We want to serve out. We all the same. We all struggles and everyone's doing their best. And if we know something better, we want to share that. Just like we have enjoying a good meal and we want to share with others. And this is why when I start to love and accept myself, I see the potential in myself. I see the potential in others as well. You just believe they can. And even though when you follow up with them, it's not the purpose of sale. It's because you feel that you used to be stuck in this, right? You want to give them a little nudge. You want to give them a little push. Just the purpose of you want to help them to get out of that pattern, to get out of that comfort zone. So it's a totally different feeling when you have a different focus. Instead of focus on sale, you just focus on helping them. Like, is there anything I can add value to this person's life? Knowing that they are trying their best, knowing that I used to be in that shoes as well, but now I know this tool and I just want to share with them. And this is the purpose. I don't feel bad when I follow up with them because I know that I have the good intention of, pull them out of the place that they not even see yet, but you are seeing a bit further than them and you just want to help. So it's okay when they reject. You don't take it personal because they just don't see that yet. And it's whether me in the past I rejected a lot of because I'm just not ready. So it's okay. It's completely fine. And it's when you show that generosity, people can feel it. It's not about the sale. They can feel that energy and we all interconnected. And this is like, just because you see it, we all, individuals separate, but our emotions, our energy is very contagious. And this is why working on yourself, clearing your energy, you don't toxic the room, right? And that's what I feel like. When you have that positive energy, people could just feel it and people just want to be connected, even though they don't know much about coaching, but there's something that make them feel safe and calm, and when you hold that space and presence for them. Yeah, and that's, for me, I feel like that's a big change because I just focus on life is short. If anything I can do to show or help, I just do it. And it's okay if they don't understand, because deep down I know why I'm doing that. So thank you for sharing that point. And also just want to, focus on can you share a time when you just focus on purely serving someone with no expectation of sales? And how does that actually lead to, I know you shared that one story already about you just randomly catch up with an open mind and, is there any other success story from your other client that you can share, maybe to inspire? Like, what was your mindset and thought at that moment when you turn up without thinking about sale? Just to enlighten some of my audience or coaches out there to see a bit clearer perspective, so that way they can lean into that intention instead of just focusing on business and sale.
Sure. Yeah. I have a couple of other examples from other coaches in particular. I'm sure you, as many of us do, some of us stay in touch with our graduating or our cohort folks from school. So I had a little small group that we were staying in touch and, maybe getting on a call every month or something after school, after the graduation. And And we're all in different places, right? Everybody is moving at their own pace. Some are immediately working in coaching. Some are taking their time. Some are building first before they kind of start. Others are trying to integrate coaching into something they're already doing. So everybody's on their own journey, which I love. And I showed up just as I always had with, hey guys, this is what's going on for me. This is what I'm trying. This is what I'm learning. And just being able to be really transparent, share without fear. This is something else that's really important to me. Treating each other like colleagues and not like competitors.
Yeah.
Is so important to me. And so that's something I try to foster in all of my conversations with coaches. And so it's like, hey, just because I went through the steps to learn this doesn't mean I can't share it. It might be valuable to you, or maybe it doesn't align in what you want to do. And that's okay too. That goes back to knowing what your vision is and who you want to serve and why you want to serve them. And so I was just showing up. I would always do like a wrap-up email. I would share resources that I came across. And one of my friends from the school was like, hey, can I hire you as my coach? And I was like, okay. But that's just an example of when you show up earnestly, generously, authentically, people feel it. And it attracts people to you. It attracts the right people to you, is what I should say, right? People who do not mesh with your energy are not going to be attracted to you. And that's okay. We want that filter. I think that's another thing that as a newer coach building a business, we can start, you said, don't take it personally. We can start to see some of those rejections as a personal reflection. And it's not. We're not meant to work with every person. And I love what you brought up because I talk about this too. Not everyone's ready. And some coaches, especially certain niches, they're really looking for people who are ready to make change, right? And so if that's a requirement of your ideal client, then you really need to accept that your filter is going to take some people out simply because they're not ready.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, beautiful. I love you sharing that. And also, if you feel the effects or take it personal, I think that's also a good opportunity to learn about yourself as well. It's just something like, what does this incident teach me about myself? Like, all your fears, all these unheals coming up. Because for me, going through that, I see a lot of things coming up for me as well. And take it as an opportunity to learn and grow yourself as well. It's like, without going through this crack has been suppressed for a long time. Now it's coming up, especially, the feeling of shame or I don't deserve this kind of things. Like it's for me, why do I feel this? Why you get curious into that? And what does this try to teach me? Like, what does this situation? And it get me to feel some of the emotional wounds that I didn't know it was exist there for a long time, and you get to heal as well. So either way, I think it's a win-win. Whether you get a client, if you don't get a client, it's something for you. It reveals something about yourself that we need to work on and learn, so that way we can show up to our clients fully. I really enjoy on this. Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna add one thing that came up as you were saying that, which I love. When we start to interpret either rejection or lack of follow up or lack of follow through personally, one of the things, because I have felt that, I think we all have at some point, and to what you're saying is we need to see what's going on with us. One of the things that I do and that I check in with other coaches about is, what else are you doing right now in your life that's for you? And if this is something you're putting every ounce of energy and time, and basically you put all your eggs into this basket, and then this basket looks half empty, you've kind of left yourself to be defined by this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you continue to invest in yourself in other ways, whether that's through self-care, whether that's through hobbies, for me, it's about maintaining connection and relationships in my life, because coaching can feel like a lonely journey sometimes. We're all solo entrepreneurs. It's another reason why I try to foster collaboration and being colleagues rather than looking at each other as competitors. But also, to be a coach, we have to give energy. And so we need to find places where we can restore that energy too. So whether that's going on a walk, whether that's playing a game with my son, whether that's having, a coffee with a friend, I need to be doing all of those things, because those are equally a part of me and who I am and what I care about as much as my coaching is. And when I stop investing in myself in other areas, it puts so much more emphasis and pressure on the coaching piece of me. And then we start to inflate that part of us into our whole identity.
Definitely. I love you bring up that point. I really enjoy our conversations. I will definitely have you back to elaborate a little bit more. But since we have to move on to parenting, which is one of the topics I'm really fascinated about. And so we're just going to take a break, and then we're going to move on to the next part on parenting. Thank you, Jamie. Okay. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to the Wisdom Inside Out. Stay tuned. Please follow me on this social media platform.